Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making oven fried rice and talk about what it's like to be an introvert in social situations, which can be a little crazy sometimes. So I really wanted to try this recipe. I got it from, or I was inspired to get it from the Dollar Tree Dinners. She's an awesome creator here on YouTube. I actually found her on TikTok. She's over on TikTok as well. If you have not seen her, go on over and check out her videos. She is very calm and peaceful too, so you can just have her on in the background and it would be awesome. I'm sorry about all of you're going to be hearing a lot of sirens. Apparently there's a fire nearby. Welcome to California, people. So you're going to be, I just saw a dozer go by on a big flatbed. So I apologize if there are sirens in the background as we prepare this. So what I did is I actually just Googled it, and I don't know if you're like me, but I like to tailor things to my taste. And so we're going to be making some substitutions, and there are some things we are not going to put into the recipe because of my own tastes. And feel free to do the recipe as you would like if you choose to do it. But what I did is I just Googled recipe for oven fried rice, and I'm just going to use what AI told us to use. So I believe this is Gemini because it's Google. So I don't have things out yet, but I do have mixing bowls and that type of thing. So I did want to tell you there are a few things that I am not putting in. I don't have sesame seed oil, so I'm actually going to substitute that with butter. And I don't do ginger and I don't do onions. So this is going to be a super basic recipe, but it'll give you a flavor of how the recipe is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the ingredients together, put them out here, and then we'll start chatting and putting everything together and see how it is at the end. I'm back. So I have all the ingredients pretty much together. What you're hearing over here is actually my electric kettle, because I realized since I'm going to be talking for a little while, my throat is going to get a little dry and scratchy, so I'm making tea. So just ignore that sound for now. But that was one thing that I did want to mention to you about introverts or quiet people, right? Us. And what happens when we are actually at an event or a social event and we talk a lot. I don't know about you, but I end up losing my voice after a fair amount of time. Sometimes it depends on how stressful the conversation is. Not that this conversation is stressful. That's not why my voice is already a little bit today. But if I'm talking to somebody for like an hour, my vocal cords actually get really tight and I start to lose my voice. This didn't start to happen really drastically until I was like at the tail end of a toxic job that I was in. And it was a job where really I had no voice, and I think it was psychosomatic. I ended up just losing my voice by the end of every single work day. So by the time I got home, thankfully I live by myself. My son does live with me, but I don't really have to talk to anybody. We're a quiet household. We're kind of like cats. So it's a good thing that we have cats. But what would happen is I would lose my voice. So I don't know if you're like that too, but if I'm in a situation where it's good conversation and I feel comfortable, my voice is typically okay, which I find is very interesting to say the least. Unless I start out like at this baseline where I am right now, where my voice is a little fried. But anyway, that was one of the things I wanted to point out. So what do we do in social situations where we know we live in an extroverted world and we're introverts? It's a journey. It's such a journey, because a lot of times what happens to us is, hold that thought. Tea in the Cloud Anywhere cup. I love this thing. Godzilla's on it, amongst other apocalyptic imagery. So I absolutely love it. But what I wanted to say was a lot of times we are misunderstood, and I think we understand that from a very, very young age. So let me get started on the fried rice. First of all, turn the oven on to 400. And first of all, what we need to do is we have 3 to 4 cups of cooked and chilled rice. So I have that here. I made that already. And then 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, which I'm not doing. I actually melted butter, so to me, one oil is as good as the other, and I know the taste will be slightly different, but I love butter, so there we go. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, ginger and garlic, which I am not using, and no diced onion, and then 1 cup of frozen peas and carrots thawed. And later on, we're going to need 2 large eggs. So for right now, in small bowl, whisk together sesame seed oil. So, butter. Then we're going to need the soy sauce. Anyway, what I was going to say is a lot of times we're like just misunderstood in social situations. There's a difference between being quiet and being shy. And if you're shy, you know that. There's a lot of fear in shyness. Whereas if you're an introvert and you're quiet, you just are. And this can be a little confusing for people who meet us and we feel comfortable around from the jump because we tend to talk a lot when we're around them on a one-to-one basis because it's in-depth conversation, we feel connected to them, and then what happens is we go into a social situation with them. I've had this happen more in romantic relationships, then you end up in a situation where you're in a social situation and they kind of expect you to be chatty and you're not chatty. So there's a little bit of a rub there and a misunderstanding of what an introvert is. And because we live in a world of extroverts, that's just kind of how it is. So I'm going to actually just use my frother to mix this. And I think it'll be okay. I don't think the bowl is small enough, but there we go. So that'll be there. So then we have to set this aside. And in a large bowl, now if you come back again, which I hope you do, you will find that I like easy peasy lemon squeezy recipes. I don't like anything that's too complicated. I have in my life made complicated recipes. Sometimes I will, but generally speaking, what I'll do is so we need 3 cups. 3 or 4 cups is what it said. So we're just gonna do 1. We might do 4. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, usually I just do easy recipes. I think what happens to us sometimes if we kind of like to cook when we're young, what happens is you just get busy with life because everybody's working and everybody's doing their thing. And you just really do look for easy peasy lemon squeezy. Maybe I will do 4. So I think it can confuse people sometimes if they meet us on a one-to-one level. And that's just something we need to be aware of as humans, as people who are introverted. And I think sometimes, even when you tell people, this is what I found with extroverts especially. Okay, we're going to do 4. What I found is even if you tell people that you're introverted, they don't, I don't know if they quite believe you until you get in those social situations. And then they're like, okay, this is, they know you in one way, but not in the other. So for that, I think, oops, that's for that fire. Okay, combine cold rice and frozen vegetables. So these are frozen vegetables. I use bird's eye. This is just the mixed vegetables. It's not just peas and carrots. It's what I had. And that's what I do too. I usually use kind of like what I have, because let's face it, I don't want to go to the grocery store. So I sometimes wonder, so just let's blend that together a little bit. And like I said earlier, there would be garlic in this, and there would be onions if I was putting in, and garlic, ginger, and onions if I was putting those in, but I'm not. I don't like the look of that carrot, so I'm gonna throw it out. Then I'm gonna wash my hands again. But I think extroverts just have a hard time dealing with us, and a lot of us, I think, get to the point where we're like, what do you want us to do? Not be who we are? At the same time, most of us do develop those skills on how to deal with social situations, how to make small talk. That's the oven. How to make small talk, even though we don't like small talk. We like getting into deep discussions. We like thinking about things. We like looking around and seeing people. And that's another thing that I find really fascinating in social situations is a lot of times, I don't know if you're like me, we just observe things and we're fine as we are, not necessarily chatting. But what happens is people who are more extroverted, they look at that as a negative, I want to say. I've always perceived it as a negative because they think that there's something wrong, but there's nothing wrong. And you also get accused of having resting bee face, which is not, I don't know if that's neither here nor there. It's just, I think they're thinking that we're thinking about them when we're not thinking about them. I don't know about you, but I'm someone who, I don't even try to get into another person's head. I do check out the situation. I do observe people because I love watching people, but I don't try to get into their head and think about what their motivations are or anything like that. I just sort of take them at face value, which has sometimes been a little bit of a detriment to me. But at the same time, I'm going to trust you until you prove to me that you can't be trusted, right? And I'll give people a lot of chances too. But I don't even think about what somebody's motivation is for doing something. Whereas it seems like a lot of extroverts do that, even though you would think it would be reverse, right? So it actually makes people, I think so it makes extroverts a little uneasy to have someone who's quiet and observant in social situations. And even sometimes if they don't know you well, not in social situations, when it's maybe just 2 or 3 people, which is, to me, that's not super social. I'm talking about group. When I talk about social, I mean like groups of people. So like those horrible networking events that we've had to go through the years, which are just a pain. Anyway, let's see what the next thing is we need to do. Add the sauce. It's just gotten a little weird because, of course, I have butter instead of oil. So we'll see if this actually works. It may not work. And it might. So we're supposed to toss it gently until it's coated. You may find out that not all oils are the same, but we're just gonna do this. So I don't know about you, but I, through the years, always felt like it was kind of a negative thing that people perceived me in a negative light, even though I was just being myself. And sometimes I think one of the most frustrating things about being an introvert is that you can be at a social situation and actually be really enjoying yourself and think everything is fine. Not super, super chatty, but conversational, right? Because we learn those skills as we go on. We learn how to be conversational in places and with people that maybe we wouldn't be conversational with, because a lot of times we're trying to make other people feel comfortable because they don't feel comfortable around us. But I think one of the things that I found that was sort of an eye-opener, and I learned this pretty young, but it kept on happening my entire life. It's only in recent years, since I'm older, that it doesn't happen as much. But you sit and you think you're having a good time, everything is fine, the person you're with is fine, or the people you're with are fine, and you think everything's fine, and then what happens is you go home, and then maybe the people you were with, they call you, or maybe it's a loved one or something, and then they'll make the comment that you were quiet and it made people uncomfortable, and somebody said something about how quiet you were, interpreting in that you weren't having a good time, which is as far from the truth as possible. And that's one of the things I think we live with as introverts. I'm not even sure how to solve that issue, except to make sure you surround yourself by people who love you for you and don't have these weird expectations or will project their own insecurities onto you. Because that is one thing, when you're a quiet person, when you're an observant person, people who are insecure, especially insecure extroverts, will project their own insecurities onto you. And then they'll say something about it. So it takes many, many years to come to peace with that. So there's that. And like I said, I've had that happen quite a lot. So, okay. So now what we do is we spread this around. Get my glasses on. I probably should have had gloves. For this. But we're just going to spread it around. Oh, my pan might be a little big. I'm not quite sure. But we're just going to do it this way, spread it around. Honestly, the Dollar Tree dinner woman, who I don't know what her name is, but she's adorable, hers looked a lot better than this. So hopefully mine will taste okay. So let's just do this. And it might be because I switched out the oils, but I don't think so. Large room sheet parts of, yeah. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to get gloves, so I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to spread these out, spread this out with gloves so it's a much thinner layer. We should have oiled the gloves, but that's okay. So what I'm going to need to do, because we're going to put egg in this later, because there's 2 eggs that you actually need to whip. I guess whip is what you call. Actually, it's not whipping, it's beaten. That's one thing too I find is that I'm a writer, so I always find my correct words when I write, but speaking, maybe not so much, which can cause us a little bit of anxiety because we want to be understood. And I think that's one thing about being an introvert too, is because so many of us have not been understood in our lives because we're such a small group of people that we want to make sure we're choosing the right words and all of that to be understood. So I'm going to put this in the oven. I'm going to clean this up, and then we're going to come back and chat some more. Okay, so we do need to stir it halfway. So we're just gonna flop it around a little bit. And no, I'm not taking you. I'm not gonna put you all the way in the oven. This isn't the gingerbread house. So, sorry, that's what we're doing. And a little bit more crispy critters down there. I'm back. I'm gonna get the rice out of the oven and then we're going to do the eggs. Actually, it looks pretty good. So it says, the recipe says to beat 2 eggs together. Actually, when I was cleaning, I shattered my favorite glass. So it's been a fun time in that 10 minutes, 15 minutes since we last saw each other. Anyway, so I'm just going to whisk this together. Anyway, so what I was talking about, you know, how we live really in an extroverted world. So what we're going to do is drizzle the beaten eggs over the rice and add any cooked protein, which would be chicken or ham or something like that. So we're not going to do that. So I guess we just pour this over. Probably not in a big lump like that, but that's what we're doing. And then I'm going to use a spatula to kind of stir it around a little bit. Then we're supposed to put this back in the oven for 5 minutes. This might end up being a mess, but you're going to see it anyway. Take a sip of tea. But it can be extremely challenging, like I said earlier, to be an introvert in an extroverted world. One of the things that I have found is that because we're in the minority, we tend to need to modify our behavior a little bit. Just a teensy weens. I only do it a teensy weens now. When I was younger, I used to modify a little bit more. What helped me was that I was in the beauty business, so I had to talk to people. So I learned how to be conversational. But if you don't have that experience, it's perfectly okay to go in and thinking about what you might want to say to somebody or how to make small talk, because small talk is not in our comfort zone. It is in extroverts' comfort zone. And if you live in a household full of extroverts, you will develop the skills to be able to socialize and deal with extroverts as well. I think the thing that bothers me is the thing that I said earlier, is the projection that people put on you when you're an introvert and you're quiet. So they assume that you're shy, which is a very fear-based way of living, is my understanding. But when you're quiet, you're just existing. It's a very different way of being. And I think that's the thing that bothers me the most, is when we're completely misunderstood in that way. Now, that does not mean we like to be in extroverted jobs. I would say a lot of us don't like to be in authoritative positions. Management or supervisorial positions are not positions we want to be in. It's a lot of skills, extra skills that we have to develop. They may be there innately, but we do have to develop them. And it just could be so far out of our comfort zone that it may be something that we don't want to do, which is why I think we need to be a little creative in how we live our lives in general. I think the typical mold that society, at least in the Western world, tells us we need to live in, it is very much geared towards extroverts. It's not geared towards introverts. And we have to really have that time to decompress and process by ourselves in a quiet environment a lot of times, before we're able to have the energy levels to go and do it again. And if you're doing that 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, if you're in a management position, supervisorial position, if you're giving presentations all the time, if you're doing any of that and you just don't like it, and you know it's because it's a disconnect, a rub on who you are as a person. And this can go beyond being introverted and extroverted. Life is way too short to be in jobs that are not at least tolerable, right? So they're not exhausting you. So a lot of times we need to really just take our own path, right? Form our own path. And life is really short. I'm in my late 50s and I can't believe how fast it's gone by. And how I have had to reinvent myself through the years. I have stayed in my jobs for a very, very long time, but sometimes to my detriment. Oh, so there's the timer. So let's see what we've got. The eggs cooked. It kind of looks a little good, but kind of a little gross. So we'll see what it actually tastes like. So it's not too bad when you put it in a pile, but it's way too hot to try right now. So as you can see, the steam is coming off it. The egg cooked pretty well, actually. Let me get it into a serving dish and we'll take another look at it. So I'll be right back. Yes, this is a nightmare before Christmas serving dish. So let's get it in here. Okay, so we're here. We're in our little nightmare before Christmas dish, which is actually, that's where I'm going to store it because I'm not actually ready to eat this yet, but we're gonna give it a taste. But before we do, I just want to let you know that with all my rambles, and if you're still here, thank you, because I am a little rambly. It's just the way my mind works. Hopefully your mind works a little similarly. But I just wanted to let you know, if you're an introvert in this extroverted world, you're okay. You are perfectly fine. And if other people don't accept that you're quiet in social situations, that you need time to recharge on your own, then maybe those people are not the people we should be surrounding ourselves with, right? So I've come to a point in my life where I have friends who are introverts and extroverts. I love spending time with them. They understand me. They don't, they don't crowd me. They're fine. We have great conversations. I love them. They love me. So you will come to that point in your life. But I want you to know that you're okay. If you haven't, there's always tomorrow to find those people who will accept you and love you just the way you are. And a lot of times they do want to see a little bit more of you, because what happens, right, is we go through life in this extroverted world. We tend to hold back a little bit because we have been misjudged. We've had other people project their stuff onto us, and that's not okay. We need to just shove that away and be ourselves. And that's okay. Perfectly okay. So anyway, let's try a little bit of this fried rice, oven fried rice. Actually, that's really good. It's really moist, which I was not actually anticipating. You can see it's moist. Switching out the butter for the sesame seed oil probably affected the taste a little bit, but I wouldn't know because I like butter. So this is actually really, really good. It's super mild, and I would totally recommend making it. And it's an easy peasy lemon squeezy dish. So totally try that. Totally know you're okay. And if you like my channel and would like to follow along on my journey, then make sure you like and subscribe. And I did want to let you know we are going to go out into the wilds. Eventually, what I want to do is take us to the lava lamps at Cloudflare in San Francisco. I am not quite at the level where I'm comfortable doing that yet, but we will get there. And what it is Cloudflare, if you see on the internet, it is a security company. And the lava lamps actually control their security system on the backside so that all of the Cloudflare pages that you go on, they're totally randomly generated from the lava lamps. And apparently you can go in and see the lava lamps in their lobby. So we're going to get there. Until then, I have a place that's kind of out of the way that I've never been before that I want to go to with you. So make sure that you come back and visit me to see that. And I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.